Bar for Bar album reviews. Apollo Brown and Che Noir, As God Intended. As God Intended is a collaborative album from Buffalo rapper Che Noir and Detroit producer Apollo Brown. This is a project that I've been looking forward to since the day it was announced. I've always been a huge fan of Apollo Brown's collaborations with rappers in the past, so going into this I knew I would enjoy it just by default. Just to be safe though, I checked out some of Che Noir's previous works, including the tape that she did with 38 Spesh earlier this year. It's good, check it out. With that said, I had some pretty high expectations for this album. First things first though, I do have to mention the length of the album. It is 14 tracks long, which is okay, but it has a total runtime of 50 minutes. As usual, I was initially worried because a lot of times I don't like long albums. Mostly because there's usually a lack of consistency and tracks kind of go all over the place. This isn't the case this time though. As I've said in the past, I really enjoy albums that are like a collaboration between a rapper and a producer, because that generally leads to a better project overall, which is more consistent and has a better sound. Let's get into the album now. This album starts off with a snippet of an interview with James Baldwin to set the tone of the album, and this also provides a nod to the title of the album, As God Intended. It then goes into the rest of the track, Antisocial. This track features a sample from Ghostface Killah's Apollo Kids, where he says, "Catch me in the corner not speaking." This is accompanied on the chorus by Black Soul, which he just does such a good job. Although this track is titled Antisocial and most of the lyrics are about how antisocial Che is, I have to draw attention to this just cold and heartless line on the second verse, where she says, "Look, kill 'em all, I put rappers in cemeteries, then go to your wake and autograph your obituaries. Pass it out to your fam, kill them dudes that carried you. Drop a bomb in the hole that your family digging to bury you." These Buffalo Kids are something different, man. That's the same sort of energy and ruthlessness that I would expect from Conway or Benny. And I mean, she has worked with them in the past, so it's not that surprising. However, this track definitely set the tone for the rest of the project with Che's rap style, for sure. The next track on this album is Blood is Thicker. In the first verse, Che speaks from the perspective of the hood and touches on some of the reasons that people want to get up out of there. And then in the second verse, she speaks from her perspective of making it out the hood and the survivor's guilt that some face when they're able to make it out. But, just they have to deal with the fact that people that they care about or grew up around are still there or they died. She seems to have come to terms with it though, with the line, "The survivor's guilt, hardest pill to swallow, make it out the hood, and then you thought your peers would follow. You was like my family, now I gotta burn down my bridge, blood thicker than water, but that's why I learned how to swim." And this goes on to the next track, which has the first rap feature on the album from Black Thought. The track is titled Hustle Don't Give. And having Black Thought on your project is a great way to get me to listen, but it's also a great way to potentially get shown up and just completely outshined on your own project, or just the track itself. However, I feel like Che holds her own really well here and gives us a verse that's full of different imagery to support her hustle. And it kind of explains why she did what she's been doing. I think it goes without saying that Black Thought delivered a fantastic verse about hustle that I don't think needs that much explanation. I'm not gonna go too much into it because I want to save my dissection of his lyrics for Streams of Thought 3, because that's going to be a long review. With the track 12 Hours, Che tells us a story that takes place over the course of 12 hours. Basically what happens is that Che and her friend Lisa are going to go to the club. Che invites her boyfriend, but he's unable to join because he's working late. Cool. While at the club, Lisa has to go to the restroom, so Che holds her onto her purse. Lisa's phone goes off. Che checks it to kind of mute it and finds out that it's her boyfriend calling. obviously the call goes missed, and then he texts her saying, come by tomorrow, but we gotta do it while she's at work. So the next day, Che calls out of work, and she's clearly upset. So she goes to Lisa's house with a gun, and I think she mentioned she had some Henny already. She goes to confront them. It turns out that he was just consulting Lisa on what ring to get Che and how to go about proposing. In the heat of the moment, Che lets off a shot because she was squeezing too hard and ends up killing him. And eventually she finds out that, yo, he had a ring for me. Storytelling songs like this are really enjoyable to me because it really puts you in that moment. But I feel like a lot of times I don't really go back to them too much, just because I already know how the story goes. That's kind of also why I don't really rewatch shows and movies, I guess. Never mind. Anyways, the next rap feature we get is from Ty Ferris on the track Hold It Down. This track is basically just Che putting herself in the position of the OG and teaching the youth. She's also been holding it down for people who are dead or in jail. Ty Ferris also brings in a great guest verse, which pretty much touches on the same topics. The next track, Daddy's Girl, is a track that talks about growing up without a father figure. Che mentions on this track that her father was arrested multiple times. This isn't necessarily a new topic in rap, to be without a father figure, but I feel like this is one of the few times that we get to hear about it from the female perspective and how it affected Che. The first verse really touches on the way it had affected her and how it's affecting her currently. She starts off with a verse using his absence as a reason for the way she ended up treating some of her exes or some of the men that she had dated. With the line, look, the older I get, the more I find it harder to date, as I deal with men and make them suffer for my father's mistakes. The second verse is a little bit different though. Here we have her kind of reflecting and looking back on her younger days while her dad was gone and just kind of thinking how she must have felt and how her mother must have felt during that absence. The third rap feature that we get on this project is on the track The Apple, and it brings Fresno rapper Planet Asia. This track is dedicated specifically to women, or more specifically black women. Che's verse here basically brings the energy back to the title of the album with multiple biblical references, most notably the apple from the Garden of Eden. I also really enjoy Planet Asia's verse because it's very heartfelt and it's just dedicated to his daughter, which I find adorable. This then flows well into the next track, Freedom. This track is appropriate given the recent and ongoing killings of black people in America. I think it's best to let the track speak for itself, but I do want to point out this line from the second verse where she says, racist cops shoot at our kings, they even got a noose if you're free. It's crazy because Che may have been using the noose as a reference to the lynchings that occurred during and after slavery, and kind of sporadically throughout history. But given that there have been multiple lynchings within the last month or two, it's a very appropriate choice of words. This line just describes really well just how fucked up things are in America right now. As we get towards the end of the album, we get to the track Winter. This whole track is basically her talking about her exes and putting them all on blast for the bullshit that they put her through. She's come to the conclusion on this track that sometimes she thinks with her heart instead of her brain, and this is a position that many can find themselves in. Sometimes, it's better to not be in a relationship, even though you care for that person. But you have to understand that they're treating you like shit. They don't feel the same way. So you have to use your brain in that time. But because she's talking about her exes here, I think that it's, she's just talking about the illusion that someone cares for you when they probably don't as much. This brings us to the final track, 94. And this is by far my favorite track on this album, and probably one of my favorite songs in a long ass time. Or it's like significantly better than so many other songs. The reason I enjoy it so much is that it is 100% dedicated to hip hop, and I love it. So Che was born in 94. I think she said April 19th, 1994. I was born in 93. So I can relate to everything she's saying on this track really well. Plus, using Common's "Yes, Yes, Y'all" and "You Don't Stop" on the chorus is a great touch. Like, I don't really want to break down the track. Like, I would really want you guys to listen to it and tell me how you feel. I just love it because there's just so many references from old school East Coast to Tupac to G Unit, like Big Pun. There's just so many things that it's like, these aren't necessarily things that she grew up on because she was so young, but like G Unit is something that she grew up on and I grew up on. So it's I don't know, it just feels good to be able to connect like that. Anyways, my favorite tracks on this album are 94, Antisocial, Hustle Don't Give, Blood is Thicker, and The Apple. Overall, this album was really good. And I mean, I kind of went into this album expecting it to be good because, like I mentioned, Apollo Brown has been on a really good streak of dropping these dope-ass collaborations. Yeah, I can't even say what I would change. Like, the production's amazing. The rapping's amazing. Like, this is one of my favorite albums this year. Like, I think it's probably gonna make it to my top 10 easily. Like, it's just so good. But anyways, in the comments below, let me know what you thought of this album if you have listened to it. If you haven't, take some time out, listen to it. It's really dope. Like, if you're into that kind of Griselda sound, but also Apollo Brown beats, like, it's perfect. Also, like and subscribe if you want to see more videos about albums and stuff like this. Thank you for watching, and stay safe out there.